My mother-in-law secretly spiked my drink with alcohol at my wedding. I lost consciousness. The reception was ruined. And now she's trying to buy my forgiveness for $5,000. Hi everyone. I'm Rachel. I'm 27. A week ago, I married my wonderful husband Jaden. He's 32. Our wedding was beautiful, like something out of a storybook. We met 2 years ago at a local coffee shop. I was a regular there. My morning coffee was my lifesaver to wake up before work. One day, a tall guy with kind eyes was standing behind me in line. He seemed sweet, but honestly, I didn't pay much attention to him at the time. All I could think about was getting my latte as soon as possible. Later that same week, I ran into him again. This time, we started talking while we waited for our drinks. We chatted about everything: favorite books, weird childhood stories, even our shared love for that cozy coffee shop. We laughed so much, and for the first time that day, I felt truly alive. Looking back, I realize I was too quick to judge at first. Maybe because I was too stuck in my routine, or because Jaden wasn't exactly my usual type. But that day, something changed. There was a genuine kindness in him, a warmth in his smile that I couldn't ignore. We exchanged numbers, and that same evening, Jaden texted me, asking me out to dinner. We went to a little Italian restaurant on a quiet street. The food was amazing, but the best part was the conversation. We talked for hours, and it felt so easy and natural. It turned out we had a lot in common: a love for old movies, a secret passion for karaoke even though neither of us can sing well, and so on. In the following weeks, we saw each other more and more often. We went hiking, explored museums, and even tried unsuccessfully to take a pottery class. The more time I spent with Jaden, the clearer it became how special he was. He was funny, smart, supportive, and he always knew how to make me laugh. He made me a better person, but I also felt completely like myself around him. Then, on our second anniversary, Jaden proposed in the most incredible way. We went away for a weekend to a cozy cabin in the mountains. Snow was falling quietly outside, and we were snuggled up by the fireplace when he got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. I don't even remember exactly what he said because all my attention was on the love shining in his eyes. Of course, I said yes. When we got back from that trip, I was thrilled and started planning the wedding. But that's when things took an unexpected turn. After the engagement, I met his mother, Maria, who is 57, for the first time. She lived out of town, so she hadn't had a chance to meet me before. At first, Maria was very sweet to me. She said she was happy her son was finally getting married. Jaden was her only child, and she mentioned she had always wanted more kids, so my joining the family was a big deal for her, like she had gained another child. She even gave me a warm hug and said she couldn't wait for us to get to know each other better. But things changed very quickly. That weekend, she came to stay with us to help with wedding preparations and spend time together. I was happy, thinking we would bond and become friends, but the longer she stayed, the more her behavior started to make me uncomfortable. The first passive-aggressive comment came during breakfast on Saturday. I had made my favorite pancakes, and while Jaden was drinking coffee in the yard, Maria looked at me with a smile and said, "Oh, I see you're not too worried about carbs." I laughed it off then, deciding it was just a random remark, but it stung. Later that same day, while we were looking through wedding dress magazines, Maria pointed to a dress and said, "This dress is so beautiful, but it's made for a very specific body type. Not everyone can wear it." And she gave me a look. It felt like a subtle hint that, in her opinion, I couldn't wear something like that. I just nodded and tried to brush it off. But inside I felt uneasy. The comments continued. When we went shopping for decorations, she casually mentioned, My friend's daughter lost 20 pounds for her wedding and looked absolutely stunning. Have you thought about that? I was shocked and didn't know what to say. I mumbled something about being happy with my body, but I felt she was judging me for not trying to lose weight. The next morning, she was rummaging through my kitchen cabinets and said, "You have a lot of snacks here. I tried to keep healthier food in the house. You don't want to gain weight before the wedding, right?" It was hard for me to believe she was still fixated on my weight, and it was starting to really hurt. It felt like she was deliberately nitpicking, even though she always had a smile on her face and a friendly tone. The strangest thing was that Maria never made these comments when Jaden was around. It was like she had a switch around her son. She was all charm and kindness, but the moment he left the room, the snide remarks would start. I felt like I was living into different realities. And one, I was accepted and loved, and the other, I was constantly criticized and judged out. At first, I decided not to tell Jaden. After all, she's his mom, and I didn't want to create tension, especially since we had just gotten engaged and were so happy. I convinced myself it was a small thing I could handle. Besides, I'm not skinny, I have curves, and I love my body. I worked hard to gain that confidence. Maria's comments were more annoying than destructive. It seemed like she was just trying to find a crack in my self-esteem, but I wasn't going to let her. However, Maria started visiting more and more often. It seemed like she was at our place every weekend, and it was starting to drive me crazy. I worked Monday through Friday, and the weekends were my only time to prepare for the wedding. But everywhere I turned, Maria was there, helping or just hanging around. It was hard to focus when she was constantly interfering with her comments and acting like she knew best. One weekend, she called and said she was coming over again, and my heart sank. I really needed some alone time to plan the wedding without her interference. So I said I would be busy and wouldn't be home. She asked what I was doing, and before I could stop myself, I blurted out that I was going wedding dress shopping. I guess I just wanted her to understand I had serious plans. To my horror, she got very excited and said she wanted to come with me. I didn't know how to say no without being rude, so I reluctantly agreed. And there she was, at my door with a big smile, saying how happy she was to help me find the perfect dress. I tried to smile back, but inside I was cringing. I already had a feeling this trip would be awful. We went to several bridal salons, and from the moment we walked in, Maria went into full mom mode. She suggested dresses I didn't like and made comments about how certain styles wouldn't suit my figure. It was exhausting. I felt like I couldn't even breathe without feeling her judgment. When I tried on a dress I really liked, she said, "Pretty, but don't you think it's too tight around the waist? Maybe something looser would suit you better." I was so disappointed because I really loved that dress. But her words made me doubt myself. By the end of the day, I hadn't chosen a dress and felt completely defeated. Maria went home, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Over the next few days, she kept pestering me with messages asking when I was going dress shopping again. I kept saying I didn't know when I'd find the time. I was determined not to tell her about my plans this time, but it all fell apart when Jaden told his mom I was going dress shopping the next day. She immediately called and asked what time she should come over. Now I had to make a decision. Maria had already made so many remarks about my body that I was simply afraid to take her with me. I knew if she came, the day would be ruined by her comments and judgment, so I decided to make up an excuse. I told her that this particular bridal salon had a policy: you could only bring two people, and my mom and my maid of honor were already coming with me. Yes, I knew it was a very stupid lie, but nothing better came to mind at that moment. Maria immediately said that was absurd and asked what kind of bridal salon only allows two people. "That's just silly. I started stammering and said, "Yeah, I know it's weird, but that's what they told me." I was sweating, realizing how dumb my lie was. I quickly added that I had to go and hung up before she could ask more questions. As soon as I hung up, a wave of guilt washed over me. I hated lying, especially to Jaden's mom. But I just couldn't handle another day of her criticism. I decided to focus on the positive and remind myself that this day was supposed to be joyful and exciting. My mom and friend picked me up, and we went to the bridal salon. I tried to shake off the guilt and enjoy the moment, and I managed to find a dress I absolutely fell in love with. After that, Maria stopped calling, texting, and coming over. She still talked to Jaden, which was a relief. It meant things weren't awkward between them. I sent her a picture of me in the dress, hoping to share the joy. In response, she just sent a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. I didn't know how to interpret that, but I decided not to dwell on it. I had too much else to worry about with the wedding preparations. As the wedding day approached, I was busy with final details and didn't message Maria again. There was so much to take care of: finalizing the guest list, confirming the catering, overseeing the decor, and then, finally, the long-awaited day arrived. It exceeded all my expectations. The ceremony was beautiful, and I couldn't stop smiling as I walked down the aisle toward Jaden. The look on his face when he saw me in the dress was priceless. All the stress of planning was worth it for that moment. We said our vows, exchanged rings, and just like that, we were husband and wife. The reception started off perfectly. We had a stunning venue. The weather was ideal, the food was delicious, and all the guests seemed to be having a great time. I was over the moon during our first dance. Jaden and I had taken a few lessons, and we managed not to step on each other's feet once. Everything was like a fairy tale. I was on cloud nine. Everything was going smoothly until I decided to get a drink. I went to the bar to get something refreshing, and Maria was standing there. She turned to me with a big smile and said, "I see you're having a wonderful time. Let me get you a drink. Just relax and enjoy." I was surprised by her sudden enthusiasm, but thought maybe she was trying to smooth over the awkwardness. She handed me a non-alcoholic looking cocktail. I thanked her and took a sip. A few minutes later, I started feeling drowsy, but I put it down to exhaustion. Then, I collapsed on the floor and lost consciousness. Everything went black, and the next thing I heard was Jaden's panicked voice calling for an ambulance. His voice was desperate with worry. He was trying to keep me from passing out completely. People started gathering around, but everything was foggy for me. When the paramedics arrived, they quickly brought me around and started asking what I had eaten and drunk that day. I told them everything, including the food at the reception and the cocktail Maria had given me. They looked concerned and asked if anything was unusual or if I was on any medication. At that point, Maria looked guilty and admitted there was alcohol in the drink. She said she didn't think it would be a problem and just wanted to help me relax. I was in shock. Why would she spike my drink without telling me? My friend and maid of honor, Emily, told the paramedics that just minutes before walking down the aisle, I had taken an anti-anxiety pill. I had been so nervous about everything being perfect that I decided to take a small dose to calm my nerves. It turned out that the combination of the medication and the alcohol is what caused me to faint. Apparently, it was a chemical reaction that just knocked me out. The paramedics explained that mixing alcohol with certain medications can be extremely dangerous, and that I was lucky it didn't end worse. After the paramedics left, Jaden turned to Maria and told her to leave. His voice was shaking with anger, and Maria looked stunned. She tried to justify herself, insisting she didn't mean any harm, that it was a misunderstanding, but Jaden didn't want to hear it. He yelled at her to leave the reception immediately. I had never seen him so furious before. and it broke my heart that he had to have such a fight with his own mother on our wedding day. Because of all the commotion, I felt awful, and the festive atmosphere was completely ruined. The guests were uncomfortable, and the joy we had worked so hard to create just evaporated. People started leaving one by one, and soon the party ended prematurely. It was painful to see everyone leaving so early and to have the day I had dreamed of for so long turn into a disaster. Jaden and I went back to our hotel room, and I tried to process what had happened. I felt numb and exhausted, and then a wave of sadness hit me. This day was supposed to be one of the happiest of my life, but instead, it turned into a catastrophe because of my mother-in-law's stupid stunt. I couldn't believe Maria's thoughtlessness had ruined our special celebration. Maria kept texting and calling both me and Jaden, but we didn't answer. We needed time to think and figure out what to do. I could see how hard this was for Jaden. He loved his mother, but he was also incredibly angry at her actions. The situation was complicated, and I didn't know how to fix it. When we finally got home, I tried to put it all behind me and focus on our new life together, but it wasn't easy. Every time I thought about our wedding, my heart ached with sadness. I kept replaying the events in my head, thinking about how things could have been different if Maria hadn't pulled that stunt. It felt like a dark cloud was hanging over what should have been a beautiful memory. Fortunately, we soon left for our honeymoon. It was a huge relief to get away from all the drama and stress. Jaden and I had a wonderful time exploring new places and creating beautiful memories together. It was the perfect escape, and for those 2 weeks, I felt like things were back to normal. We laughed, relaxed, and enjoyed each other's company without a care in the world. But when we returned, reality hit us immediately. As soon as we pulled up to the house, Maria was waiting for us on the doorstep. My heart sank, and a knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. I knew a confrontation was inevitable, but I wasn't prepared for it to happen the moment we got back. The worst part was that she didn't even apologize. Instead, she kept insisting it wasn't her fault and that it was all just a joke. She tried to justify her actions, saying, "I didn't think you'd have a bad reaction, and I just wanted to lighten the mood." It infuriated me that she refused to take responsibility. I couldn't believe she was trying to dismiss what happened as a harmless prank. Jaden lost it. He exploded and said that this was the end, that she had crossed the line and needed to acknowledge her fault. If she wanted him to speak to her again, she had to apologize to me. He said she had hurt me deeply and that it was unacceptable. Maria tried to interrupt, but he wouldn't let her. He continued, from now on, they would only see each other on holidays. No unexpected weekend visits. No unnecessary calls. It would be like they were distant relatives who only meet on special occasions. Maria was shocked and started crying, but Jaden stood his ground. I could see how hard it was for him to put his foot down with his mother, but he was determined to stand by my side and make sure I felt safe. Yesterday, while I was at the office, Maria called me. I was very surprised because we hadn't spoken in a long time, and I certainly didn't expect her to reach out, especially in the middle of a workday. She said she was outside my office and wanted to meet. I was flustered and definitely didn't want her coming inside and causing a scene, so I decided to go out to her myself to avoid extra drama. We sat down in a small cafe across the street, and I could immediately see she was very upset. As soon as we started talking, she burst into tears. It was terribly awkward. People around us started turning and staring. She said she couldn't believe what Jaden was doing, that he wasn't answering her calls or messages. She was desperate and begged me to talk to him on her behalf, claiming she just wanted things to go back to how they were before. I want to point out that at this point, Maria still had not apologized to me for what happened at the wedding. Seeing she was completely in denial about the consequences of her actions, I told her that instead of coming to my work and making the scene, she should think about how her actions affected me and Jaden. I explained that she had ruined my wedding day, and it was unfair to expect me to just sweep it under the rug and talk to my husband for her. She tried to justify herself, saying she didn't mean to cause harm and that she was sorry my body reacted that way. It seemed like she couldn't see beyond her own perspective and understand that her actions had real consequences. She kept repeating, "If I had known that would happen, I never would have done it." Meanwhile, she continued sobbing, and people in the cafe were looking at us with concern. I felt incredibly uncomfortable and just wanted to get out of there. I told her I would see what I could do but made no promises. I still haven't talked to Jaden about it because I'm not sure if I'm ready to forgive Maria. After all, she didn't even apologize until I brought it up myself. My mom advises me to let it go and forgive my mother-in-law, but I'm not sure. What do you all think? I really need some advice. The author's question is in the comments. Personally, I wouldn't forgive this mother-in-law and wouldn't talk to Jaden about it, as harsh as that may sound. Because if the mother-in-law really wants to fix her relationship with her son, why doesn't she just apologize? She doesn't want to apologize, but she wants things to go back to how they were before. And how was it before? It seems like it was her continuing to belittle her daughter-in-law. Right, plus, the author says that in Jaden's presence, the mother-in-law behaved normally, but when he left, she acted very badly. But I think, when she was alone with Jaden, the mother-in-law probably also made some nasty comments because his extreme reaction at the wedding can only be understood that way. At least, it became obvious to me that Jaden immediately suspected malicious intent from his mother for a reason. Surely, his mother had been telling him things like, "She's not good enough for you," for a long time. Someone might say, "Why doesn't she just lose weight?" But come on, everyone has their own tastes. Some people like curvier women, others prefer thinner ones. As they say, there's no accounting for taste. Anyway, let's continue and find out what happened next. First update general. This was true because I wanted to put this whole nightmare behind me and focus on the future. Jaden looked at me worriedly and asked if I was sure. I said yes, but we needed to set boundaries with his mom to avoid any more drama. He believed that I was ready to forgive her but also understood that it wasn't just about me, it was about us as a couple and our need for peace and stability. After our talk, Jaden texted Maria. He said he was glad she had apologized to me and that we were willing to try to mend the relationship. But he also made it clear that he was sticking to his decision. No unexpected visits, no constant calls, and no attempts to cross boundaries. He said we needed space to focus on our own lives. Maria replied almost immediately, writing that she was sorry and that she just wanted to be a part of our lives. She promised to respect our boundaries and give us the space we asked for. I still have mixed feelings. On one hand, I'm glad that Maria seems to be taking our conditions seriously. On the other hand, I still feel anxious because I know that one slip up from her and all the drama will come back. I'm trying to focus on the positive and remind myself that there is progress, even if it's slow. Many of you also asked about my anxiety. I'll just say that I'm not very comfortable discussing it, but I appreciate your concern. My anxiety wasn't related to doubting Jaden or our relationship. I knew he was the one from the moment we got serious. It was all about the wedding day and the stress of organizing such a large-scale event. We had over 200 guests, and I really wanted everything to be perfect for them. I was afraid that something would go wrong, the food would be bad, the music wouldn't be fun, the decorations wouldn't be as I had envisioned. I kept thinking about the little things that could ruin the day, and it made me incredibly anxious. I wanted our guests to have the best time and remember the wedding as a beautiful and joyful event.